A warning, the details of our top story are disturbing. Terror in Moscow. 4 men accused in the Friday attack have been charged with committing a terrorist act. They're facing possible life imprisonment. Russian President Vladimir Putin said the horror was carried out by radical Islamists, and 3 have already pled guilty to all charges. This after videos posted online appears to show the accused being violently interrogated. But ISIS released its own graphic footage purporting to show the terror attack, which claimed the lives of at least 139 people. Russia's prime minister saying today that the investigation into this deadly attack is still ongoing, but he vowed that the perpetrators will be punished, adding that they do not deserve mercy. The attack Friday night on Crocus City Hall on the western outskirts of Moscow left 139 people dead and over 180 injured. It happened minutes before the start of a concert by rock band Picnic at the massive auditorium. One concertgoer described hearing the first popping sounds but thought it was fireworks. As events unfolded, it became clear that it was the deadliest attack on Russian soil in years.
I now invite you to stand and observe a minute of silence.
The world voicing its collective condemnation today.
And this has been really, really tragic. So many people, innocent people, being killed by these crazy people.
4 men identified as Tajik nationals are charged with carrying out a terrorist attack. They appeared in court and all 4 showed clear signs of beatings. The Kremlin is refusing to answer questions about footage posted online allegedly showing security forces cutting off the ear of one of the suspects and trying to feed it to him. One of the alleged terrorists was later seen in court with a huge bandage covering his ear. Another video showed a man being subject to electric shocks to his groin. Today, 3 more suspects have been arrested. 2 brothers, as well as their father, were charged with complicity in the attack. The massacre turned into a manhunt, with authorities saying they detained 4 of the men in Russia's Bryansk region. President Vladimir Putin first sought to tie Ukraine to the attack.
All those who shot and killed people were found and detained. They tried to hide and move towards Ukraine, where, according to preliminary data, a window was prepared for them on the Ukrainian side to cross the state border.
But an affiliate of the Islamic State group ISIS quickly claimed responsibility and released GoPro-style footage of the terrorism. U.S. intelligence officials have since confirmed that ISIS is to blame.
What we know to be the case is that ISIS-K is actually, by all accounts, responsible for what happened.
There was no Ukrainian involvement, period. You've seen the Ukrainian government make that clear, and of course, with respect to these statements, the Russians have offered 0 evidence because there is no evidence. We did offer warnings to the government of Russia in early March about a planned terrorist attack in Moscow, specifically potentially targeting large gatherings, including concerts.
Преступление совершено руками радикальных исламистов.
2 days after the horrific attack, Putin has changed his tune and is now blaming Islamic extremists for the massacre. The situation growing more tense in parts of Europe. France increasing the number of soldiers to guard key sites across the country, as President Emmanuel Macron said today that the gunmen in Moscow were part of an Islamic State branch that was behind foiled attempts to attack France over the past few months. Meanwhile, it has been a time of mourning across Russia. Thousands have come to lay flowers outside the concert hall. And inside that same facility, teams of Russian rescuers continue to clear debris today, searching for bodies. The number of victims may increase as the search operation is still underway. There are a lot of questions about the lead up to this horrific terror attack, and we're joined tonight by Alistair Edgar, political science professor from Wilfrid Laurier University. Alistair, we know that the United States had warned of a potential attack. Did Russia just not take any of this seriously?
Yeah, essentially, at least from what I've seen, and Putin's own public statements, he declared these as sort of distractions, attempts to undermine Russian sense of security. So yeah, I mean, the embassy, the American embassy in Moscow, had warned Russia, and it had warned its own citizens 2 or 3 weeks prior to stay away from large gatherings. People may remember the attacks previously at the Moscow theater or at the Beslan school, etc. So, yeah, these intelligence had been gathered, warnings had been issued, they had been ignored. The FSB is now reporting, of course, that they foiled a planned Islamic State attack a couple of weeks before this as well. So they've got this strange dichotomy of saying, now the Western intelligence was a distraction, it was nonsense, it was undermining. Oh, but we foiled an attack 2 weeks ago. So it's really interesting to watch the two tracks of their public statements.
In many of these terror attacks, the gunmen are not taken into custody. Were you taken aback by this? What might be Russia's motivation for keeping them alive?
Well, again, in some senses, they've undermined their first story, which was that this was an attack from Ukraine, even while ISIS was claiming it. Apparently, they did kill at least one of the Tajiks. They've captured the others. They've tortured them. You've seen, whether you've seen some of the footage of them being wheeled into courts, one of them unconscious, one of them apparently with an ear that looks like it's been cut off. So they want to put these people on public display. I mean, their security system failed badly. You have 133, 140 dead, 140 plus injured. Some of them will probably die in central Moscow. So the FSB and the government want to now distract people from that failure, in a sense, by putting these people on trial. So I'm sure they want to get information. Torturing, as we know, is not a good way to get realistic or reliable information. They'll say whatever they want just to stop torture. But they want to show that they're now in charge.
Who thought we'd be saying that, but they have produced evidence to show they were behind the attack. Alistair, how is the Kremlin handling the aftermath of this, and what can we expect in the days to come?
I think, well, I mean, obviously inside of Russia, this will be high profile. The state will try very hard to absolve itself of any failure, at least to its own public, while probably internally some heads are going to roll for the failure, because it was a brutal failure, especially if they were given intelligence by the United States beforehand. But they'll have a show trial. They'll get confessions of whatever kind they want from these people. They will probably then be executed at some point, as tends to happen. In some senses, I mean, this hasn't changed anything in terms of what Russia is doing to Ukraine, because on the same night, they sent 150 cruise missiles and 100 Iranian Shahed drones to kill Ukrainian women and children all over the country. So, it's not going to change anything about what Russia is doing there. But this obviously will be a show trial in Russia. And perhaps Russians will target ISIS in more ISIS groups in Syria or anywhere else.
Alistair, thank you so much for joining us tonight on Trending Now.
Happy to have a chance to chat to you. Thank you.